What are you still doing here? Will you get up, go outside and smile to our guests downstairs? If they notice anything, I will deal with you.
Everyone admired our perfect marriage, but behind closed doors, I was living in fear. The women in our church would sigh whenever Jerry walked in on a Sunday morning. Tall, clean-shaven, smelling like expensive cologne, his white abada pressed to perfection. And me beside him, Vanessa, his wife, smiling, always smiling. "Look at them," Sister Ngozi would whisper to Sister Amaka. "That is how marriage should look. God-fearing, beautiful, united." They would clap for us, literally clap, like we were a performance. And maybe that is exactly what we were. Our Instagram page had over 40,000 followers. Jerry ran it himself. Every Sunday, he would take our photo outside the church gate, me in my lace, him in his agbada, and the caption was always something like, "Grateful for this woman God gave me. She is my peace." The comments would flood in, heart emojis, fire emojis, women tagging their husbands saying, "This is what I want," men tagging their wives saying, "See how a real man treats his queen." I remember reading those comments in the bathroom at night, sitting on the cold tile floor, pressing a cold towel to my wrist where he had grabbed me so hard that morning that I could still see the marks of his fingers. But outside, I was Vanessa Jerry Okafor, the perfect wife. I had learnt very early in our marriage that Jerry did not need a wife. He needed a prop. Something beautiful to stand beside him, something that smiled on command, laughed at his jokes, agreed with his opinions, and kept its mouth shut when the door closed. I was that thing. For 4 years, I was that thing. The first time he raised his voice at me, we had been married for 3 months. I had forgotten to press his second shirt for an important meeting. He stood in our bedroom, looked at me with those eyes, cold, empty eyes that nobody else ever saw. And he said, "Vanessa, you are useless, you know that. Completely useless." I thought it was stress. I told myself it was stress. The second time, I told myself it was my fault. By the 10th time, I had stopped counting. He never hit me with his fist, no. Jerry was too smart for that, too image conscious. He hit me in other ways. He would go 3 weeks without speaking to me inside our own house. He would take my phone at night and check every message, every call, every contact. And if he found anything he did not like, even a message from my own cousin, the punishment would begin. Silence. Cold, suffocating silence that was louder than any slap. He controlled our money. I had to ask him before buying sanitary pads. I had to explain every kobo I spent. I had a degree in accounting. I had worked for 6 years before I married him. But Jerry made sure I left my job after our wedding. "My wife does not need to work," he told people. "I take care of her." And people applauded him for that too. My mother called me every Sunday after church. "How is Jerry? How is your home?" And I would say, "Fine, Mama. Everything is fine." Because what was I going to say? That the man she danced for at our wedding, the man she told her friends was God's best for my daughter, was slowly, quietly breaking me into pieces? She would not believe me. I knew she would not believe me. Jerry was too charming, too respected, too perfect in public. So I smiled. And the 40,000 followers kept liking our photos. And nobody, not one person, ever thought to ask if I was okay. There's a particular kind of loneliness that comes from suffering in a house full of everything. We had a 5-bedroom duplex in Lekki, marble floors, a generator that never failed, a gateman, a cleaner, a cook. People would drive past our house and point. I heard our neighbor's wife tell someone once, "That is Jerry Okafor's house. The man is doing well." Oh. But inside that beautiful house, I was dying slowly. The worst period was when I got pregnant. We had been trying for 2 years, and when it finally happened, I was so happy that for 1 week I forgot everything. I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe a baby will change things. Maybe he will soften. I told him on a Friday evening. I made his favorite, ofe onugu with pounded yam, set the table properly, lit a small candle the way he liked. When he sat down, I put the pregnancy test on the table beside his plate and waited. He looked at it for a long time. Then he said, "Are you sure it is mine?" The question hit me like cold water. I sat there, unable to speak. I had never, not once in our entire marriage, given him any reason to ask me that. I had no friends he had not vetted. I had no life outside this house that he had not approved. I had nothing. But that was Jerry. That was how his mind worked. He always needed to remind me that I was suspect, that I was beneath him, that even my joy was something he could take away. I did not cry in front of him. I had learnt not to. I went to the bathroom, sat on the floor, that same cold tile floor, and I pressed my hand to my stomach, and I whispered to the tiny life inside me, "I will protect you. I promise I will protect you." And I made a decision. Not that day, but from that day. I started keeping records. I did not know why at first. Maybe it was the pregnancy hormones sharpening something inside me. Maybe it was the way he looked at that pregnancy test like it was an accusation. But I started writing things down in a small notebook I hid inside my Bible, because Jerry respected the Bible too much to ever touch it. Dates, words he said, things he did, injuries, even the small ones. And I started keeping my phone fully charged, recording app downloaded, hidden in the folds of my wrapper during our worst moments. I know how that sounds, like I was planning something, like I was scheming. Maybe I was. But when you are a woman in a house like mine, survival starts to look a lot like strategy. The pregnancy was difficult. I had terrible morning sickness in the first trimester, and Jerry's response was irritation. He did not want to hear about it. "Other women carry pregnancy and still do everything," he said one morning when I asked him to help me with something simple. "You are too dramatic, Vanessa." Dramatic. That was his favorite word for me. My pain was dramatic. My tears were dramatic. My silence was dramatic. Everything I did or did not do was wrong, dramatic, and inconvenience to the perfect life he was trying to build in public. At church, he would put his hand on my growing belly during praise and worship, and the whole congregation would say, "Ah, Brother Jerry, a man after God's own heart." And I would stand there beside him with his hand on my stomach, a stomach he had questioned, and smile. Smile, Vanessa, smile. But something was shifting inside me. With every month of that pregnancy, something was hardening, strengthening. I was no longer just surviving. I was watching, waiting. I did not know what I was waiting for. Then the invitation came. If this story is already touching your heart, you are not alone. Subscribe so you never miss a story like this. Our 5th wedding anniversary was Jerry's idea, of course. He planned everything himself, hired an event planner, booked the rooftop of a hotel in Victoria Island, sent out invitations to 200 people, family, friends, church members, his business associates, even some social media followers who had been with us from the beginning, as he called it. The theme was 5 years of grace. I almost laughed when I saw that. He bought me a dress. He chose it himself. Gold, floor length, beautiful. The kind of dress you wear when you want everyone looking at you. He also chose my jewelry, my shoes, my hairstyle. He showed the hairdresser a picture and said, "Make her look exactly like this." Not a suggestion, an instruction. On the evening of the event, he looked me over the way you inspect a car before a long journey, turned me around, checked every angle. Then he nodded and said, "Good, you look good." Not beautiful, not "I love you," just good, like I was an object that had passed quality control. We drove to the venue in silence. In public, he became a different man the moment we stepped out of that car. His hand found the small of my back. His smile came on like a switch. He opened the door for me, held my hand, whispered something in my ear, not words of love, just instructions. Smile more, Don't talk too much about your pregnancy discomfort, and don't embarrass me tonight. The guests cheered when we walked in. 200 people on their feet, music playing, a slideshow of our photos behind us on a massive screen. Every beautiful moment, every Sunday photo, every vacation. I watched myself on that screen and I almost did not recognize the woman smiling back. She looked so happy. My mother was there. She hugged me so tight and said, "Nem, look at you. See how God has blessed your home." My aunties were there, my old friends from university who had always said Jerry was a good catch. They were all there, dressed up, celebrating us. Celebrating a marriage that did not exist. Dinner was served, wine flowed. The MC made jokes. Then came the part of the evening Jerry had been preparing for all week, the testimony. He had told me about it beforehand. He wanted to stand up and give a testimony about their marriage, 5 years of God's faithfulness. He had even practiced some of it in front of me at home, asking me to clap at certain parts. I had sat there and watched him practice his lie. Now, the MC called him up, and Jerry walked to the microphone with that walk, that confident, slow, shoulder-back walk, and the room went quiet because when Jerry spoke, people listened. "Good evening, everyone," he said. "I want to start by thanking God." The crowd murmured in agreement. 5 years ago, I married my best friend. He turned and looked at me, and I could see the shine in his eyes, genuine shine, but not from love, from performance. He loved an audience more than he ever loved me. Vanessa has been my peace, my support, my backbone. This woman, he paused for effect, this woman has stood by me through everything. People were already wiping eyes. I sat at the table with my hands folded in my lap. My heart was beating very fast. My 7-month belly pressed against the table. The baby was moving, small kicks like a fist opening and closing. I put my hand on my stomach. I promised to protect you. Jerry continued, "I want every man in this room to look at his wife tonight and appreciate her, because a good wife," he chuckled, shaking his head like he was overwhelmed with gratitude, "a good wife is worth more than gold." The women were crying now. Someone shouted, "God bless you, Brother Jerry." And that was the moment, that precise moment. Something snapped inside me. Not broke, snapped, like a rubber band that has been stretched so far and for so long that when it finally goes, it goes completely. I stood up. The room did not notice me at first. Jerry was still speaking. But when I pushed back my chair and it scraped loudly against the floor, a few people near me looked. Then more people. Then Jerry. His eyes met mine. For 1 second, I saw it, that flash of warning. The look he gave me at home when I was about to say something he did not want me to say. "Sit down. Don't you dare." I had spent 4 years obeying that look. I walked toward the stage. "Baby," he said into the microphone, forcing a smile. "My wife wants to add something." He laughed and people laughed with him, relieved, thinking it was sweet. A wife who loved her husband so much she wanted to speak to. I took the microphone from his hand. His fingers tightened around it for just 1 second. A warning, a threat wrapped in a smile. I pulled it free. The room was completely quiet now. 200 people. My mother in the front row, confused. Pastor Emmanuel at the table of honor. Jerry's business partners, his mother, that woman sitting with her arms crossed, already sensing. I stood at that microphone with my 7-month belly, in the gold dress my husband had chosen for me, and I opened my mouth. "My name is Vanessa," I said, "and I have been married to this man for 5 years. My voice was steady. I was surprised by how steady it was. "He just told me I am his peace." I looked at Jerry. He was still smiling, but it was the smile of a man who was afraid. "Let me tell you what his peace looks like." "Vanessa," he said, privately, a voice only I could hear. "On the 14th of March, 2 years ago," I said to the microphone, I came home 20 minutes late from the market. Jerry locked me out of this house in the rain for 4 hours and told the gateman that if he opened the gate, he would lose his job. I watched the room shift, the confusion on their faces. I was standing outside in the rain, calling his phone. He did not pick, murmuring. On my birthday last year, I asked him if we could visit my mother. He said no. I cried. He took my phone for 2 weeks and told me I was being childish. The murmuring grew. When I got pregnant, my voice wavered for the first time, just once. When I told him I was carrying his child, the first thing he said to me was, "Are you sure it is mine?" The gasp that went through that room, I will never forget it. I heard my mother say, "Ha!" I heard someone stand up. Jerry reached for the microphone. "She's emotional," he said loudly. "The pregnancy." "I have recordings," I said. Silence. Complete, total, airless silence. I reached into the small purse I had carried all evening, the same gold purse he had selected to match my dress, and I brought out my phone. I had prepared for this moment for 3 months. I had transferred everything to a small document: audio clips, screenshots, photos of marks on my wrists. I had sent copies to my sister, my lawyer, and my doctor before we left the house that evening. I have the recording of the night he told me that if I ever embarrassed him in public, I would regret it. I looked at Jerry. I thought about that threat every day. And then I realized, what is the worst he can do to me that he has not already done? Jerry's face had changed completely. The charm was gone. The smile was gone. He looked like a man standing in a place he had never planned to be caught. "I am not here to destroy anybody," I said, and I meant it. I was so tired of destruction. I am here because 200 people came tonight to celebrate something that does not exist. And I am 7 months pregnant and I am tired. I am so tired of pretending. My voice broke on that last word, and the room broke with me. The night did not end quietly. Jerry tried to speak. He tried to explain, to refrain, to do what he always did: take a situation and reshape it with words until he was the hero again. He said I was hormonal. He said I had misunderstood things. He said pregnancy had made me unstable. But the room had heard me, and a room that has heard the truth cannot unhear it. Pastor Emmanuel, the same man who had called Jerry a man after God's own heart, stood up and said, "Brother Jerry, let the woman speak." I had not expected that. Jerry had not expected that either. My mother crossed the room and stood beside me without a word. She just took my hand. Her hand was shaking, or maybe mine was, but she held it, and something in me that had been clenching for 4 years finally loosened. Jerry's mother, the sharp-tongued, immaculately dressed woman who had always looked at me like I was an inconvenience, sat very still in her chair. She did not defend her son. I think in that silence, she already knew. Mothers always know. They just choose sometimes not to see. Jerry left the venue before the night was over. He walked out and I watched him go, and I felt something I had not expected to feel. Not victory, not joy, just relief. Like a stone I had carried for 4 years had simply rolled off my back. The weeks that followed were not easy. I will not pretend they were. There were people who took his side. There always are. People who said I should have handled it privately. People who said I had shamed my husband publicly. People who said, "But think about your child. Think about your family." I thought about my child every single day. Every single day. That was exactly why I did what I did. My daughter was born 6 weeks after that night. I named her Ifeoma, which means good thing, beautiful thing. She was 3.2 kilograms of the most beautiful good thing I had ever seen. She had Jerry's nose and my eyes, and when she looked at me for the first time in that delivery room, I knew with every part of me that I had done the right thing. She would never grow up watching her mother disappear. She would never learn that love looks like silence and fear. She would never stand at a microphone at her own wedding anniversary, 5 years deep in a beautiful lie, wondering how she got there. The recordings were reviewed. My lawyer filed the necessary documents. The process was long and grinding and exhausting in the way that legal things always are, but it moved. Jerry's image, that carefully constructed 40,000 follower image, collapsed almost immediately. The screenshots spread, the audio clips spread. People who had commented relationship goals on our photos were now sharing the recordings. The same social media that had celebrated our marriage became the place where the truth lived permanently, where it could not be buried. He lost 2 of his biggest business contracts. I had this from someone else. I was not watching him by then. I had stopped watching him. I want to tell you what I learned. Not as a lesson. I hate when people turn pain into a lesson, as if suffering is only valuable when it teaches you something, but just as truth. I learned that a person can be loved by a crowd and be completely alone at the same time. Jerry was loved by thousands, and I was alone in a 5-bedroom house. I learned that image is not the same as character. A man can smell like cologne and have a rotten heart. A woman can wear gold and be in chains. I learned that silence protects the wrong person. Every year I stayed quiet. Every Sunday I smiled for that photo. Every time I swallowed the truth, I was protecting him. I was making his lie easier to live. And I learned that speaking up, even when your voice shakes, even when you are 7 months pregnant and standing in a gold dress in front of 200 people, speaking up is not drama. It is survival. Ifelma is 8 months old now. She laughs at everything. She laughed this morning when I was eating and I spilled something. This big toothless laugh that came from her whole body. And I sat there on my kitchen floor, a different kitchen in a smaller apartment with no marble tiles and no gateman. And I laughed with her until I cried. Good crying. The kind that cleans you. 40,000 followers became 12,000 after the truth came out. People unfollowed the page. But I kept the page and I changed it. No more couple photos, no more grateful for this woman captions. Now it is just me and Ifelma. Small, ordinary moments. A baby laughing at spilled food. A sunrise through a window. The kind of life that does not look perfect because it is too busy being real. And every Sunday, I still dress up. I still go to church. But now, when I walk in, just me, just Vanessa, no performance, no prop, no smile on command, and I sit down and sing, something inside me sings too. For the first time in 5 years, it is not pretending. It is just me, and it is enough. It is more than enough.